Hello, Steampunk. What makes a steampunk outfit steampunk? Now, some of the really basics pretty much always have a corset. There's a lot of playing with jewel tones like emerald or like this really jewelly pretty purple, and there's a lot of brown. There's also a style towards Victorian. All of these pieces that I'm talking about, even if you put them all together, you can still arguably be part of something else. One of the best ways to distinguish yourself as a steampunker, especially to the layman, is to put a gear or cog on your clothing. So today we're making a super distressed large gear. Here's what we need.
Drawing implements, skizzers, scrap, thin cardboard. Cereal boxes work great. At least one pin, tacky glue, fire! A candle and a lighter. Gold paint, I like Martha Stewart's, and black craft paint. A large and small paintbrush. A small container. Lastly, a template. I found mine on the internet. Link below. First thing you want to do is grab your cardboard and make sure you flip it to the non-coated side. Then lay your template down and do a quick sketch around this. It does not have to be perfect because remember, we are going to be distressing this gear a lot. From there, cut it out. Use either skizzers or I like my box cutter, but in reality, whatever you have on hand works. Once you have it all cut out, take your tacky glue and take the top off and then put way more tacky glue on there than you would ever use for any glue project. And then carefully using your fingers, smooth it out over the entire surface of the gear. This will be messy, so protect your work surface. Now take your scissors and put a couple of tape balls on each end of the scissors. Then take your gear and carefully lay it on top, pushing a little bit from underneath. Alright, take your candle and set it ablaze. If you are underage, please have supervision, or if you're not familiar with fire, find supervision that is familiar with fire. Then take your gear and put it into the fire, carefully running it over. Try not to leave it in any place too long, but basically we want to turn this entire thing black. And when I mean black, I mean like super black, like no shine, no color, completely dark. Once you have achieved this level of darkness, carefully peel your gear up. Then take the cap from your tacky glue and use it as a circle template to create rivets all around your gear. You can kind of use the original template as inspiration, but here's the rule of thumb here. The more textured you make this gear, the better it's going to look. So I really pressed down and twisted it around. The only warning I can give you is anytime you expose any white glue, quickly take it over the flame to help set that texture in place. Then I took my pin and using the pointy end, I actually just ran it really quick and light all the way around the inside to make it look like the gear had been grinding for a long time. Then I took the dull end of my pin and poked it into the surface of the gear all over it. This was an attempt to give it a very pockmarked look, like it had been aged or had some bad things done to it. Here's the thing to remember though. As this glue dries, all of your texture will mellow out, even if you set it with fire afterwards. So make sure you make this gear more textured than you want it to be. Lastly, I took my pin and laid it into each of the rivets to kind of make them look like screws. This kind of worked. Let it dry overnight and it should look like this. Now taking your black paint and your small paintbrush, make sure all of your recesses are really black. It's okay to paint over all of the highlights as well because we're going to fix that later. Just make sure all the recesses are absolutely black. After leaving the black paint to dry, take your gold paint and using your finger very lightly brush the paint over the entirety of the gear. I like to stick my finger in, rub it around on my palette, and then use it to make sure I have a really thin coat on my finger. This helps to ensure all of your texture stays in place. From here, let the gold paint dry and grab your black paint again, and then carefully make sure all of your recesses are still as black as you want them to be. Now, if you want a shiny gear, congratulations, you're all done, but I want a dull one. Take your black craft paint and mix it in a lot of water in a small container. How concentrated this is kind of up to you. Now take your large paintbrush and mix that up really well. Add a little bit more paint if you want it to be more concentrated. Now with a light hand, brush this watery paint all over your gear. If you want to add more layers, make sure you let the first one dry completely. Now, you're all done. So what do you do now that you have this large, flexible gear that looks very distressed and old? Well, you could attach it to a barrette and clip it in your hair. Attach it to a pin and pin it onto your clothing, or my friend actually liked to use it as a corset tie to sort of decorate that area up. Whatever you want to do with it, in my experience, almost nobody believes it's cardboard and that when I flip it over, they see the cereal box.